So in this presentation, we will be discussing our opinions from the video, Globalization Isn't Finished, It's Changing, and the article, Has COVID Killed Globalization? We will discuss if we think globalization is dead, how COVID-19 has affected globalization, the related factors that already affected it before COVID-19, the evolution of globalization, and its effects on how companies address the growing needs of their customers everywhere.
The title of this week's article from The Economist was Has COVID Killed Globalization? COVID-19 and the pandemic that we are experiencing is definitely affecting our global markets. Increased trade barriers have greatly reduced the global business transactions. Many of the trade issues we face are directly related to COVID-19 and the safety protocols that follow it. But safety protocols are not the only thing affecting our markets right now. We were in a trend of strengthening trade barriers long before this virus. And some of the tensions resulting from the virus, such as the origin of the virus and questionable stimulus packages that many nations have implemented, have created more tensions and reduced trade between nations. We are all familiar with the companies Apple, Facebook, Amazon, and Microsoft. They do a lot of big business in our world, but they only account for 1.3% of global exports. Another interesting point the author had, almost 60% of the world's GDP consists of countries that are implementing stricter foreign policy, specifically regarding trade. So this is going to slow down and reduce the likelihood of more globalization in the future. This article was written during the pandemic, so as we're seeing a lot of this unfold, we are learning new details every day about how our world is going to be affected by this. But the video was filmed in 2018, which is before this pandemic and before some of the foreign policy that we are dealing with today. So I do believe that globalization is not dead, but is going to be evolving rapidly, and we must stay ahead of the curve, because without globalization, our economy will not be near as successful as it has been.
In the YouTube video, Globalization Isn't Dead, It's Changing, they discuss some key topics as to why some might think globalization is coming to an end, but in reality, it's just making some changes. Some of the reasons that people might think that globalization is coming to an end is because global trade contributions to growth has plateaued. GDP growth is in the low single digits. Immigration is getting tougher. The WTO, IMF, and World Bank have less sway. But with digital technology expanding, globalization is changing. It is changing rapidly because this digital technology integrates people, businesses, and devices at the touch of a button. These massive data flows are the new global trade routes, new ways for companies to reach new and grow their current markets, and it's very helpful when it comes to companies selling and delivering products, whether it be locally or overseas.
First, we heard from Savannah, who explained how we are going to discuss globalization and its current trends and growth, especially with COVID. Then we heard from Luke, who talked about the Economist article, Has COVID Killed Globalization? COVID has indeed impacted globalization negatively, however, it's been in trouble for a while due to countries strengthening their foreign policies and their trade barriers. Then we heard from Sean, who talked about Boston Consulting Group's Globalization Isn't Finished, It's Just Changing. Some might think it's finished due to growth plateauing, GDP barely growing, and immigration getting harder. However, it's just changing due to new digital technology and data streams. If we accept BCG's view that globalization is evolving to more digital formats, then why does The Economist say that COVID is such a blow to it? Well, primarily this could be because the pandemic is such a blow to every aspect of life. Can globalization survive COVID? Most likely, but it has better odds if countries commit to helping global trade rather than hindering it. Thank you for listening. I'm Jay, and this has been Team 10.